Chris Lee, Blake Lovell, and Blayne Gilmer of Southeastern 14 here. We've got 3 games almost in the books. None of them are over as we do this, but they might as well be. Georgia has just put a whipping on South Carolina. Kentucky has pretty decisively, thanks to really good defense, beaten. It's not over yet. Youngstown State, and Missouri is having more trouble with Abilene Christian than it should, even though the score is 31-10. Guys, I guess here's where we start. Georgia, goodness,
It's pretty overwhelming how the performance. In my preview, I would just like to apologize to the Georgia defense by giving South Carolina the benefit of the doubt. I thought they'd get 14 to 17 points on the day because of that passing attack, and they do have some talented receivers and tight ends, and Rattler can spin it a little bit, but man, Georgia just dominant on that side of the ball and offensively as well, Blake.
Yeah, I mean, what do you say? I think we all again went back and said Georgia's the best team in the country after last week, and they're clearly the best team in the country right now. And yeah, I don't think I expect it to be to this extent, but based on what we've seen the first 2 weeks, I can't say I'm shocked. Considering what they did to Oregon in week 1. So yeah, I don't know what else you take away from it other than the fact that Georgia is the defending champions and they're the best team in the country. So.
Do we know for certain there's a better tight end on the planet right now than Brock Bowers?
I tweeted that Brock Bowers may make the Pro Bowl this year. It's going to be close, so we'll see.
Goodness, that move he put on their safety in the second half for a 78-yard touchdown, and then the one like the first half touchdown, like Stetson Bennett had a window about like that.
Yeah.
Coverage was there. Brock Bowers had about a window of about that to get his foot down. Both of those things happened. I don't know what else you say. Like if you've not seen those plays, just find the highlights and watch them. They are much better than sitting here and listening to us speak about them. But my goodness, I just am so impressed with him.
Yeah, he's just it's the speed, the speed once the ball's in his hands, his ability to accelerate is second to none right there with Brock. And then, like you said, the throws with Stetson. I mean, could he look much better today? Could he look much better?
He was great.
I mean,
he was terrific. And Carson Beck looked pretty good in the small window we've had to watch him as we do this.
And there's 11 minutes. They can.
I know.
They can add more points here. It's getting lopsided in a hurry.
I had a decision to make. I've got one TV in my office. It's right in front of me, and I'm like, well, I can watch the end of Georgia's bludgeoning. I can watch what Kentucky's doing to Youngstown, or I can watch Missouri Abilene Christian because that's, relatively speaking, the most interesting of the 3. So that's the one I'm watching. I've been a little underwhelmed with Missouri today, but that's a topic we can engage on or we can punt for later.
You're watching Missouri Abilene Christian over Georgia? I'd rather just watch Georgia's dominance over anything else. I don't know why I would. Yeah, I'm choosing Georgia in this one, and it's not about the score. It's just watching a team just execute to perfection. It's just a thing of beauty. I'd rather watch that than whatever Missouri's doing against Abilene Christian, like you said. So,
well, I'm watching because I'm trying to decide if Blayne is right. He's had Vanderbilt as the better team than Missouri for a couple of weeks now. Vandy will kick off here in about 30 minutes. And oh, by the way, I believe Vandy's going to start A.J. Swan at quarterback today, making a change from what I've been hearing.
I think they're better. Yeah. Vandy will then have, I don't care if it's Mike Wright's had his struggles, but I don't care if it's Mike Wright or if it's A.J. Swan. I think the quarterback play for Vanderbilt is better than that of Missouri. So when you got 2 teams that are, not much separation in talent level and stuff like that, I'd go with the one that has better quarterback play, and that is Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I'm not watching Missouri Abilene Christian for entertainment value. It's more for research and takeaways. I don't know what you can take away from the bludgeonings that Kentucky and Georgia are handing out now as they're into their second and third teams. I'm still underwhelmed with Kentucky's rushing attack, but man, that
Yeah,
defense.
but I mean,
yeah, I know.
you
I mean,
know,
we're looking for things, right? When you are playing opponents that you are going to overwhelm, you look for cracks.
they don't have Chris Rodriguez either, so I think
They
that's.
don't.
I
They don't.
mean, I think it will be significantly different when he's back. What was it, October 1st? Is that right?
Yeah,
I
Ole
believe
Miss.
that's the case.
They'll be completely different, I think.
I think with Kentucky, they're kind of two or 3 years behind, it seems, of what Georgia's model was, in terms of trying to get their offense, more modernized and bring it around. Because remember, it wasn't long ago that Lynn Bowden was, running the Wildcat for them every play, and now they're really just trying to get things rolling in terms of, having this true pro style and even at sometimes spread type attack. But they're going to play great defense. They're not going to beat themselves, and they're going to be hard nosed. But that was the criticism on Georgia, in 2018, 2019, teams that they were heavily favored on. They just didn't separate for them. They didn't pull away late. Well, it's because they didn't play that style of ball. And I think Kentucky is the same way.
What else stood out today that we've seen so far? I think the more interesting football is certainly coming, and we'll probably have a second, maybe a third video to talk about those. But
we talked about Stetson Bennett a little while ago. Stetson Bennett's legs are, I mean, that was the reason he won the job last year, but now it's just become almost unfair, because if you do get to Georgia, if you do get him, a blitz does work and you get him under pressure, he's able to escape. And then right when they're rolling and they get all these different receivers and tight ends and running backs beating you on the perimeter, then if nothing's open, he pulls it down and is able to scamper 15, 20 yards and, dive for the pylon like he did earlier in the game. It's a weapon. I mean, it's a weapon that Georgia's able to utilize now. And there will be key times in more competitive games where you'll see a zone read, or you'll see a naked boot or something like that it's just one more thing that defenses have to be worried about. And man, Georgia's not had that kind of mobility at the quarterback position in a long time, and it makes them even more lethal on that side of the ball.
What do we take away on the Carolina end? I know Cam Smith didn't play today, probably Carolina's best player.
Jordan Strawn was out. Mo Kaba was out. I'm on defense. Yeah. I mean, they were gutted on defense already.
Yeah. How worried are we? I've missed it on them 3 weeks in a row. I thought that they would be more competitive with Georgia this week. I thought last week they'd be a little more competitive with Arkansas. Is this just what that team is? And look, that's probably probably Carolina's played the toughest schedule in the country so far. So I don't want to overreact to that. But what can we take away from the Gamecock side of things?
I mean, like Blayne said, you got key guys out, but I don't take away a whole lot from this game against Georgia, because I think there were too many people who, after the Georgia-Oregon game, said, well, this is just about Oregon being overrated. They're in the Pac-12 and this and that. But, I just think Georgia's going to do this to, they're going to do this to Vandy. They're going to do this to Missouri. They're going to do this to other teams in the SEC. I wouldn't be surprised if they do it one of these teams in the West. Although I don't remember, I guess scheduling-wise that matters too. But, I think this is way more about Georgia than South Carolina. I mean, clearly, if we want to take something away, South Carolina's nowhere near where they want to be right now. But, they're also not even close to Georgia. But then again, I don't think many teams are at this point, less than a handful. So
I think the one area you have to worry about for South Carolina is that they're nowhere through 3 games. We've seen that they are not where they need to be on the defensive front. And I know they have injuries over there, but they had some recruits, some big time prospect recruits there to watch that game today. And I thought that was a gamble going into it, that they were going to bring those big time recruits. I guess they wanted them to see the atmosphere and stuff like that, but kind of had to know that this was coming And so they gambled on that, but they're going to need to beef up on the interior defensive front. That's the thing. That's what separates these teams, Georgia's, Alabama's, when Ohio State is really, really good, things like that, Michigan. It's the teams that have dynamic athletes that are also immovable up front. I mean, and that's not what South Carolina has yet.
To the atmosphere thing, Blayne, I think Carolina fans may be the best in the league at football for what they have shown up for versus what they have gotten in product return. But looked like from TV that stadium cleared out in a hurry today.
Oh, yeah. Well, we all know Arkansas fans are the best. I mean, we got to say that. But we all know the Arkansas fan DWR doesn't. I mean, Williams-Brice can't hold anything to DWR. No, but they were excited for about 5 minutes, but they do get juiced up, and they got the Beamer ball towels and all that kind of stuff going on. But they were just, like Blake said, it was just an absolute bloodbath today, overmatched.
How about Georgia bringing in its own air conditioning? I mean, that is thinking of everything.
There is no love lost between Kirby Smart and Shane Beamer. I won't get into all the specifics of it, but I'll tell you, it did not go well when Beamer departed from Georgia, and there is mutual disdain, and Kirby is going to try to beat him as bad as he can today. So that's why they're concerned about the air conditioner too. He thought, well, I know I don't like this guy, so he probably don't like me, so he's probably going to try to make us sweat it out over there in the locker room.
Was there a good game on anywhere in the early window? I mean, a lot of people circled Oklahoma, Nebraska is a game that could be interesting with the coaching change, but you heard people say Jeff Lebby would really like that Nebraska job. I mean, they have come in and just have stuck it to Nebraska.
I was going to say, I don't know why anyone was expecting anyone different than that, even with the coaching change, because if you've actually seen Nebraska, I just don't think, again, they were
defense. Ooh.
They were going to be overmatched in this game, no matter who's on the sideline. So, that was probably never going to be one. I think they hit the opening touchdown, and what is it now, 40-something to 7, or maybe they scored since then. But yeah,
there's Fox is teasing Urban Meyer to Nebraska. Already they're getting that interesting.
Well, they'll push him for every job on the planet, maybe just to get rid of him. So, like, we brought him back. Let's get him a job.
Georgia just kicked a field goal, by the way, they're going to put it on them from 21 yards out. I guess they could have gone for, speaking of clearing out, it's cleared out in Columbia too, in Missouri. Which that had a better crowd than I thought they would at Missouri today.
Yeah, Luther Burden, and we can talk about him for Missouri. He's special. I mean, Georgia went down to the wire for him. In fact, a little behind the scenes recruiting wise, Georgia got a phone call about two hours before Luther Burden made his commitment and said, he's planning on coming to Georgia. Whole family had Georgia gear and things like that. And then they go to the conference, and he ends up announcing he's going to Missouri. So definitely some. You see all those bags of chips over there with Luther Burden's face on them over there in the Missouri area. That there was a big NIL package. The Anheuser-Busch people over there did some work to bring Luther Burden in, I believe. But when it comes down to it, anyone to stay close to home. But Luther Burden, a punt return today. He's electric, and he's somebody that you'll hear about his name either at Missouri or elsewhere for a long time. I'm not sure if Drinkwitz is going to survive this year, and if he doesn't, who knows how that works with Burden going elsewhere. But for right now, Missouri has a dynamic playmaker in Luther Burden.
Yeah, ESPN3 couldn't get his name right today for a while. Might want to know that kid.
Drinkwitz or Burden?
Burden.
How do you mess up Burden?
This is why these games are on. This is why these games are on ESPN3.
Burdine? Yeah. Burdine?
I don't think it was a mispronunciation. I think it was another name entirely.
Huh.
I don't know how long that went. I just watched a highlight where they were talking about him live and like, I'm pretty sure it's not his name.
I'll add another little nugget on the Georgia game too. Speaking of pouring salt in the wound, Oscar Delp, his mother went to South Carolina, and Shane Beamer thought that they were going to get Oscar Delp, true freshman tight end for Georgia. So when you're already up 35-0 and you decide to send your true freshman that South Carolina desperately wanted, and it was a legacy of South Carolina, out on a wheel route down the sideline to score a touchdown.
Yes.
That's sending a message a little bit, I think.
Yeah. Carolina has got what? Charlotte next week. So Charlotte's awful. It's probably a bottom 5 team. And then South Carolina State. So that's their get better bridge. And boy, after that, it is a gauntlet of games for the most part. Vandy, Missouri ahead for them. So that's an opportunity for some wins, but got to get some confidence back after today if you're Carolina.
If y'all had to guess on the futures going forward on the Heisman voting, would you say that Stetson Bennett jumps up to maybe number 1 in the Heisman race after this week?
Who was leading the pack last week? I'll be honest, I don't dial into the Heisman race in mid-September.
Bryce Young. I think it was Bryce Young. But
yeah, I think. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, why not? Right? I mean, you've seen nothing out of the way he's played.
As of yesterday, Vegas Insider, CJ Stroud is the best odds. Bryce Young, second best. Caleb Williams, and then Stetson way, way behind Caleb Williams in terms of the odds. Plus 400 for Williams, plus 1,600 for the Stets. So
I think that may change after today.
No, I'd say it'll probably change, but that was heading into today. So Stroud technically, according to slight favorite over Bryce Young at the moment. So
USC is going to have an interesting game on their hand with Fresno State today. Hayner, the quarterback out there for Fresno State, he'll be a name you hear in the NFL for a long time. I believe he's a really good quarterback.
Fresno State's put some quarterbacks in the league.
Oh, yeah. So coming into today, Stetson Bennett was 49-65, 668 yards passing for 11.2 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he also had 2 rushing touchdowns on the year. He adds another rushing touchdown. He adds 2 more passing touchdowns, and today he was 16 of 23, 284 yards, an average of 12.3 yards per attempt. So, I mean, man, it's those are better numbers than I've seen out of a Georgia quarterback in a long time. I mean, those are Aaron Murray type numbers, and we know Aaron Murray, is still the SEC's all-time leading passer. So it's been a while.
Okay, here's my go ahead.
How pissed is Kirby Smart going to be if they give up a touchdown here? He's going to lose it.
Oh, I might have to turn back over to Georgia then.
Yeah, it's getting close, Chris. 48-0. About to be a touchdown on the board for South Carolina.
That settles it. Abilene Christian, Missouri was thrilling, but I'm going to switch over. Here's one for you guys. Will Georgia's defense cost Stetson Bennett the Heisman? Because they are just – I mean, when you're up 30 points at half, there's no reason to play him, right? To some degree, the Heisman can be about numbers. So is it just going to be seen as
letting the fans see it behind me here while we have it going?
I'm not sure we can do that, but anyway.
Oh, yeah, you can do it. We do it all.
Okay. Just making sure.
Not the whole screen.
I'm watching it. Georgia, the only FBS team not to allow it. I'm going to take Georgia to not allow a touchdown.
Well, they'll allow one now, Chris. Why are you saying such things?
Gosh, there's nobody left other than the band.
Yeah, it's amazing the dominance that Kirby Smart has been able to assert over the SEC East. Used to be such a.
Of course,
there went that thought.
Kentucky's gone final, by the way, 31-0.
Kenneth, by the way, I don't I mean, right now, I think Georgia's clearly the best team. Obviously, I think if Alabama kicks things up a notch, sure. I don't think I would doubt Alabama, but through 3 weeks, I don't see anybody surpassing where Georgia's at this point.
So Georgia gets an interception. I
Yeah.
thought you were going the other direction with that, Blake.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Your connection is a little ahead of ours over there, Blake. You must have the real
yeah, I'm on the speed plan.
Mine seems to be behind everybody's. Blake and I've had this as a running joke for a while.
Yeah,
now.
Chris is just now catching up on the Sweet 16. So,
what happened with Kentucky?
Bus rolling right along
go?
to the Elite Eight. Isn't that right, Arkansas fans? They made the Elite Eight. So, yeah.
I want to see Alabama. I mean, we joke about. Let's see how Alabama responds to what happened at Texas, because you have seen Saban's teams be underwhelming, would be strong, but maybe not what was expected at this juncture of the year, and everybody questions them, and then you look really stupid 3 months later.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how Alabama responds. I mean, obviously they'll have a cakewalk today with UL Monroe, but I think that Alabama, it's going to be difficult to fix the woes that they have on the offensive line. Defensively, Alabama is going to be able to compete with anybody, but the offensive line is a real struggle. So, but that can be, you can make up for some of that with the excellent skill talent that they have. I think they'll change their approach a little bit. I think Bill O'Brien will say, okay, we can't protect as well. We're not going to try to do as many deep drop back passes. We're going to get more screens and more quick perimeter passes, things like that going, and try to find ways to get Jahmyr Gibbs out on the perimeter as well. But as far as just going 5-man, pass protection with no back end to block, I don't think that's going to be a recipe for success for Alabama this year. And I think, it'll be a little bit different than they've had in the past.
Anything else on the early games? Let's talk Missouri a minute.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen anything.
Well, I don't know that you missed a lot other than Luther Burden. The stat, it was not exactly a stat sheet.
But did Brady Cook play quarterback for him today?
What's that?
Did Brady Cook play quarterback for him today?
Yes, he did.
What were his numbers like?
And according to ESPN, we've underestimated Brady Cook. He's just kicked a minus 9-yard field goal for Abilene Christian. So,
anyways,
Brady Cook doing the impossible.
How were Brady Cook's numbers for Missouri today?
The ESPN app is not running stats on that one, so
okay.
Which I don't know why, but anyway.
Yeah, it's probably hard. They couldn't find somebody that was interested enough to keep the stats over there for that one. But yeah, 34-10, like you said, underwhelming for sure. And Eli Drinkwitz and company are going to be. They've got Auburn. At Auburn, they got Georgia, Florida, and then Vanderbilt, and then after that, maybe New Mexico State at the second to last game. But they're going to be hurting to find wins going forward. So they better enjoy this one with Abilene Christian. But how about, as we're watching this and things are going on, how about Georgia's ability to? It seems late in games last year, there were teams that made it a mission to keep their first team offense out there, and they were bound and determined to score a touchdown late in the game. And Georgia seems just as determined to keep them out of the end zone this year. So it's just it's a little minute thing, but the pride that Georgia has, they're the only team in college football that has not allowed a touchdown.
Well, when you sign 25 stars a year, those guys got to play at some point.
Here's the thing, that actually hadn't been the case for the last two classes for Georgia. They've been getting, with this influx of NIL and with some of the other stuff, they've been going to Texas A&M. People have been going to. They've lost out on kids to Miami. They've lost out on kids to Florida State. A bunch of different programs have been. So make no mistake about it. This statement that is being made, Kirby Smart is trying to, because kids see numbers and results. They don't know the nuances and things like that. Oh, we were up by 30, so we started running the ball. Kirby Smart's just continuing to play because he's going to go into these kids and say, hey, we throw the football. We do this. Look how we were beating these guys. They're recruiting you. They're saying they're going to be successful. Well, look what we just did to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think it's intentional. I mean, it is a absolute message. You messaged us in our chat. You said Georgia takes no mercy. I said those days are over with. It's just not that they're not going to do that anymore, because look what Alabama has done under Saban, Blake. I mean, when do they, there's been rare that they still had guys like Jerry Jeudy, Julio Jones, all those guys in late in games, beating people to a pulp. I mean, it just seems like that's the route that Georgia's going to take now.
Yeah,
Georgia apparently can punt too. I wasn't sure they carried a punter on the roster.
He's Australian.
Kid just kicked one out of the back of the end zone that was caught at the 30 on the other end of the field.
Yeah, after the first game, when Georgia only punted one time, Brett Thorson, he's Georgia's punter from Australia, he said, well, I learned something today. Stetson Bennett hates Australians.
We've got go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying he was having a little fun with that one.
We've got Penn State Auburn coming up, which I think is.
I can't wait for that game.
Yeah, I can't. I don't think it'll be the most appealing game we see. No, interesting, yes. But I don't think it'll be.
You didn't used to be a high school football coach, Chris. I'm excited to see that game because it's going to be. There's going to be some. I mean, it's going to be some. It's going to come down to tackling, to some, positioning on how people block and things like that. It's going to be a nip tuck game, I think, in my opinion, and they're going to really. It's going to be an ugly game, but it's going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, this is going to be a throwback to the 1980s kind of game. It feels like, with the situation at quarterback for those teams.
Blake, do you think Sean Clifford makes it through the game?
We'll see. This one's going to be interesting, like you said. I think we were all in on the under on this one, weren't we, Chris? So
yes.
That was one
that and Georgia Tech Ole Miss. I think the over under got up to 65 on that game, which I cannot believe.
Well, I still think here you go. This is we'll clip this if I'm wrong, but I still think the best bet of the day is Miami plus 5.5 against A&M. So,
well, the only difference is now Max Johnson is starting quarterback. But here's the things that's give and take. Okay, it's going to give them maybe a little boost of energy, but here's the problem. Haynes King for 4 weeks now that has been getting most of the number one reps, and that's a right-handed quarterback. So now you switch to a left-handed quarterback, and you can ask any receiver, any tight end, any running back that has to catch from a left-handed quarterback. The spin on the ball is different. You have to adjust to things differently, and they already have young, kind of unproven receivers over there at Texas A&M. There's already a lot of pressure. It's a night game, prime time. Everybody's eyes are on them. I feel like you may see some wide open guys that are having problems tracking that left-handed football. I mean, that may sound silly, but it's literally spins the opposite way. So it's going to be something they have to get used to.
What's the quarterback count change for today in the SEC? I think it's going to be at least 2.
Like it just quarterbacks that don't start the game.
Starting quarterback change. I'm sorry, I should have phrased that better.
So we've got A&M and Vandy. I mean, beyond that,
I think Auburn, you'll see. I think you'll see Robbie Ashford a lot for them, but I don't know if it'll be like a full replacement type deal. I think.
That's one I'm wondering. Who did Ole Miss? Did Ole Miss start? Ole Miss started Altmaier last week.
He got hurt last week. They pulled him. He wasn't playing great, but he was trying to play through. They treated it like the NHL and said an upper body injury. They didn't tell us what exactly it was. So had the hockey upper body injury, but we'll see. I think he'll start today again for. I think Kiffin likes Altmaier more. I think he likes the moxie kind of that he brings to the situation, and Jackson Dart has just been kind of he's talented, but I don't think he's connected with the locker room there as reports that we've been getting and talking to people that cover the team over there. And when you see it with Georgia and Stetson Bennett, even last year, when people questioned him, they believed in Stetson Bennett. And if those guys at Ole Miss, if they believe in Luke Altmaier, then that's absolutely the guy that Kiffin needs to go with.
We're about to have a Georgia red zone alert here. Carolina's got the ball on the other side of midfield. Now inside the 20.
Yeah, they're getting down to the 10 now. They're trying to get it going here.
That's where we've gotten to in a 48-0 game. The most intrigue we have on the SEC schedule is, will Georgia allow a touchdown? So,
I mean, that and backup quarterback play have been the only storylines in the second half. Georgia just
and Kirby's just frothing at the mouth over there. Just
oh boy,
that might ruin his day if they give up a score here.
Oh, they could have had another pick right there. It tipped off his hands. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see some of these games later in the day. Excited to hear the Harley rev up over there at DWR when Missouri State takes the field. So it's gonna. I heard a terrific interview with Jeff Long, who, when he was the AD when all that happened at Arkansas, he was talking on ESPN radio to some guys. I think he was talking to Rick Neuheisel and his co-host during the day. I loved hearing him talk about that because he was like there was a lot of things that could have been. Oh, they did score. Oh well, that's over with.
So now everybody in the FBS has given up a touchdown. I'm still not seeing it. And now I see it. Oh, left the guy wide open.
Well, there you go.
All right. Well, now we got to start. Is Georgia overrated?
They gave up a touchdown.
Poor Kent State.
Yeah,
but we're going to have to go here in a minute as the next round of games gets ready to start. Any chance Ole Miss and Georgia Tech gets interesting? I mean, there's a chance, but I would be surprised.
It's only if the quarterback play if Georgia Tech sells out to the box, which I think they should, and trying to stop Zach Evans, and the quarterback play is just suspect like it has been for the first several 2 games here for Ole Miss. Like Jackson Dart has not played well. Luke Altmaier, he came in, did some good things, but then he was hurt last week. So how's he going to play this week? So do they just sell out to stop the run on Zach Evans and Ulysses Bentley and Judkins and all those guys over there at Ole Miss? Or if they do that, then maybe it just becomes a slog and, they only win by 12 or 14 instead of, 21 or 28.
Okay, guys, quickly before we leave, you can only watch one game the rest of the day involving an SEC team. Which one is it? I'll go with you first, Blayne.
Penn State, Auburn. That's the one I want to see.
Oh boy. Arkansas, Missouri State. That's that's a default answer, right? Arkansas fans. It's a toss up between LSU, Mississippi State, and A&M Miami. I'll go LSU Mississippi State just because I think that's a
good one.
huge game for both teams, obviously, and I think if Mississippi State wins that one, they are on to something. So
I'll go Mississippi State LSU just because that's the only one involving 2 SEC teams that's left, and it's a 2.5-point game. State, I believe, a road favorite, still in that one in Baton Rouge. So when in doubt, go with the 2 SEC teams matched up rather than one on an out-of-conference team. But I think those other two games, I mean, I am fascinated to see how those develop.
For sure.
Parting thoughts, guys.
excited to just watch some football. That's it.
Yep. We will probably do another one of these at some point this evening. So be
Yeah,
sure to hit that subscribe
maybe
button.
sometime I don't know, Blake, what do you think? Maybe in the
You'll see it. Hit the subscribe button. Turn on the
Yeah.
notifications. You'll know exactly when we're going to do it. So it'll be sometime towards the end of this next slate of games, somewhere in there. So probably during Arkansas, Missouri State, a lot of other games. So so just hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and you will know exactly when we're going to do it. So we appreciate the support as always.
It has not been our most riveting podcast ever, but we are, in this case, at the mercy of the material, which frankly sucked.
Yeah, it did.
So
hey, we got it out there. You got to talk a little ball. It's good on Saturday. Now let's go watch Penn State and Auburn.
Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again later tonight.